Okay, we're ready to go.
Thank you. I'm going to call to order the meeting of the Plan Commission for January, Hammond Plan Commission, January 19th, 2021. I'm going to ask that you rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, but if you want to step to the side so we don't look at your navel, that would be awesome. So please rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Would then ask our secretary to call the roll, please.
Roger Brock,
Here.
Dean Button,
Here.
Alex Delo,
Here.
Michael Dye,
Here.
Ann Herbert,
Here.
William Hutton,
Here.
Thomas Kazmierzak,
Here.
Dan Spitali,
Here.
Sharon Zaney.
Here.
9 present, we have a quorum.
Well, it's wonderful to all see you and Happy New Year. And echo the sentiments of our dear Commissioner Herbert for those. At this time, we have our regular organizational meeting for January. And unless Attorney Wesson wants to try to run us through that, I'll certainly do the best I can. So first item on the agenda is the election of officers. Is there a nomination for president for the Plan Commission?
I'd like to nominate Dean Button to continue as the president.
I second that.
Thank you, Sharon. Commissioner Zaney and Commissioner Hutton. I gladly would be honored if you so selected me. Is there any other nominations for president? Any other nominations? Okay, at this time, if it's okay, I will take nominations for vice president. I know that Mr. Hutton was our vice president last year, so
I nominate Mr. Bill Hutton for vice president.
is there a
A
second?
second. Ann Herbert, second.
Thank you. A motion by Councilman Spitali, seconded by Commissioner Herbert. For Mr. Hutton, would you be willing to fill that capacity?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other nominations for vice president for the Plan Commission for Hammond? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Shannon, is there any other positions that need to be filled at this time?
Yay.
Beg your pardon?
Appointment to BZA.
We'll do that in a minute. Thank you. So we've received nominations for president, Dean Button, and vice president, William Hutton of the Hammond Plan Commission. At this time, I would ask, is there any discussion? Being none, I would ask for a roll call for our slate of officers. Ms. Morris-Smith?
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Alex Delo,
Yes.
Michael Dye,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak,
Yes.
Dan Spitali,
Yes,
Sharon Zaney.
Yes.
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions.
Thank
Motion
you.
passed.
Thank you. Congratulations to the officers. And next on the agenda would be the appointment of the Plan Commission member to the BZA for 2021. I know that Commissioner Hutton, a venerable Commissioner Hutton, did a wonderful and marvelous job representing the Plan Commission
Thank you.
on the BZA last year. And I would ask for nominations to appoint a member for this commission for 2021.
go with Mr. Hutton again for BZA.
Motion by Councilman Spitali for Commissioner Hutton.
Michael Dye,
second.
Michael Dye, Commissioner Dye, seconds. Commissioner Hutton, are you willing to fill the role of BZA appointment to? by the
Yes,
Plan
sir.
Commission?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. We're honored to have you. Is there any other recommendations or nominations for anyone to fill the appointment of the Plan Commission? Any other nominations? Any other nominations? Nominations are closed. I would ask for a roll call vote from Ms. Moore-Smith on the appointment of Mr. William Hutton, Commissioner of the Plan Commission, to the BZA for 2021.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Alex Dietlow,
Yes.
Michael Dye,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
yes,
William Hutton,
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak,
Yes.
Dan Spitali,
yes,
Sharon Zaney,
yes,
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris-Smith, and congratulations on your appointment, Mr. Hutton.
Thank you, Mr. Button.
We appreciate the fine job you do for us. Thank you. Any other business relative to the organizational meeting that we need to undertake this evening? None. Okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 4, approval of the minutes of September 21st, 2020. Is there a motion to approve?
So
Michael
move.
Commissioner Hutton is a motion. Is there a second?
Michael
second,
Dye, second.
Commissioner Dye has seconded. Is it okay to just all in favor? All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye,
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Actually, Dean, I know it's a, ministerial act, but you've got to call the
Understood.
roll because of the virtual nature of the meeting.
Thank you, Counselor. We appreciate that. Mrs. Morris-Smith, would you kindly call the roll on the minutes?
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Alex Dietlow,
Yes.
Michael Dye,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
yes,
William Hutton,
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak,
Yes.
Dan Spitali,
yes,
Sharon Zadie,
yes,
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris-Smith. Very much appreciated. Next item on the agenda is item number 5, old business. Is there any old business?
There's no old business.
Understood. There's no old business. Item number 6 is new business. First item under new business is CP 21-1. The purpose of this ordinance is to amend the text of the zoning ordinance 8514 to provide for new regulations to administer signs within the city of Hammond. This ordinance amendment will affect Title 21 Signs, Section 21.10 Prohibited Signs, and Sections 21.11 Temporary Signs by removing the existing language and replacing said language in its entirety. The ordinance amendment does not modify any existing penalty or forfeiture provisions. I would ask, was there notification requirements for this action, Mr. Poland?
Yes, there was.
Mrs. Morris-Smith, has notification requirements been met?
Yes, they have.
Thank you kindly. I would ask Mr. Poland to give us a brief presentation.
Yes, I'm going to assume that there's no objection for me acting as presenter as well as the reviewer.
Any objection by the council, the commission? Seeing none, Mr. Poland, please proceed.
Okay, this ordinance amendment, as stated in the title, is affecting 2 sections in the sign part of the ordinance, the prohibited signs and the temporary signs. This is somewhat similar to a version that we submitted a couple years ago that the council did not approve. We have tweaked it, modified, or addressed their concerns to the best that we could, and have tweaked it and added some things and clarified some things to help address those issues. When it comes to prohibited signs, the list is substantially the same as it was in the original text. The most important difference is item number 10, which is balloon signs, inflatable signs, or other types of inflatable devices. Previously, those were allowed to be for a 30-day period and then a renewable 30-day period. We are taking the step, we're proposing that the balloon signs are eliminated completely. There's a lot of concerns with how they appear seasonally and kind of affecting the appearance of our streetscapes. The second section is the temporary signs. This one has more changes in it. In the opening paragraph of that section is changing how we are calculating how long a temporary sign can be placed on the property. Initially, you're allowed to get a permit for 30 days. Then the sign must be removed. Then there's a gap period of 30 days. And then there may be a secondary period not to exceed 30 days. And then after that point, the sign must be removed and you're only allowed one temporary sign under this definition per calendar year. Now, in essence, what the difference was is that we've added the 30-day gap period. Previously, we were able to get 30 days and then renewable 30 days. Now there must be a gap period of 30 days. So that's the essence of that change. The other parts of the temporary signs is basically clarifying some of the language, introducing the definition of A-frame and T-frame signs, the clarification on the banner, blade and feather signs that we see periodically. There is item number 4 on this is an other category because there may be types of signs that we didn't think of, but as long as they meet that definition of that they're intended to be displayed for a limited period of time. The last number, item 5, is then acknowledging that, you know, when that you put banner signs on street lights or any of the other public street fixtures, make it clear that that is under the jurisdiction of the Board of Public Works and Safety. There may be other temporary signs on the public sidewalk and the street right away. When you start seeing stores that put out these, sometimes as an A-frame sign, but they're on the public sidewalk, that is intended to be the jurisdiction of the Board of Works, mainly because the zoning ordinance doesn't have jurisdiction in the public right of way. And so we had to establish who does have jurisdiction. Those are the basic differences of the ordinance. Are there any questions on that point?
Any questions for Mr. Boland?
Brian, can you,
Councilman Spitali.
the 30-day gap, what is that exactly? What does that entail? What is that?
That no sign, the sign that was approved for the 30-day period must disappear for 30 days before it can come back. And it could come back, if they choose to, they could have it come back for another 30-day period.
So they can come back with 2 30-day periods. Is that what you're saying?
No. They get approval of sign A. Sign A can be there for up to 30 days.
Mhm.
Sign A has to then be removed for 30 days, and then sign A can come back for another 30-day period, and that's it. Then sign A has to go away until next year.
Okay, gotcha. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Boland? Brian, I have just a couple, if you don't mind. Using your example of sign A and sign A, what is it? What if a property owner had a sign B? They could come to the jurisdictional. Well, what happens if there's a second sign that's unrelated to the first sign? Are the property owners allowed to put up a second sign with different language on it?
Theoretically, I think the way this is written, that could occur, that they could have another sign. The other part of it is that this is subject to your maximum sign allowance anyway. So we still have that protection. But, you know, conceivably, yes, they could have a second sign with an overlapping time period, I guess, if you want to think of it that way. It is possible.
Okay. My next question would be about political signs. How is that affected as a temporary sign?
We are not addressing political signs because those are governed by other parts of the state statute.
And so there's no discussion of signs in this particular zoning ordinance, of political signs.
No, we do not address political signs.
And I guess the last question I had, I recall this item coming up in a previous plan commission, as you had mentioned. And what happens when labor unions, in their right to free speech under the First Amendment, I assume, they would be deploying some sort of sign or some sort of inflatable balloon type demonstration. How is that handled under this?
Well, subject to my attorney correcting me, I would say that since we are banning inflatable devices, that they would not be allowed to do that. But then I don't know how the First Amendment right's going to play into that.
Okay. Well, thank you for taking my questions. As a last chance, is there any more questions for Brian as petitioner?
Yeah, I have one.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Kazmierzak.
This is concerning strictly for facilities zoned as business, correct? This doesn't, or is this residential as well? So if somebody wanted to put up happy 40th birthday sign on the front lawn, would this affect them at all?
The sign regulations for residential are different in that you're only allowed a 12-inch by 12-inch sign on the wall of the building. So this does not specifically allow it. The signs that you're suggesting, this is not specifically allowing it, and it's not specifically prohibiting it, because it's hard to regulate happy birthday and things like that.
Gotcha.
But I think Dave has to say something to say.
Yeah, of course. Is
So-
that all, Mr. Kazmierzak, at this point? Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Attorney Westland, please.
So, yeah, I just want to address, and it goes to like the big inflatable rat, I guess is what, that Dean was asking about. And it also goes to the last question. It's always difficult to craft an ordinance that deals with every circumstance when you're trying to balance folks' First Amendment rights as well as other things like just what I would say standard of living things like being able to say happy birthday to your kids in a COVID environment where they can't have a birthday. And, I want to put this sign out in the yard. You see it all over the place, right, where that's happening. Our code enforcement is going to be reasonable in all aspects of the enforcement of this. So I would say, it's a fine line whenever you write a sign ordinance. And Brian has certainly endeavored over the last, 18 months to 24 months to come up with an ordinance that really kind of addresses the issue that the administration was struggling with, which was, kind of the inflatable guy out in front of the tax preparer that we see every March and April, or all the streamers and the big purple gorilla on top of the building, around fireworks time. So just to give you a couple of examples. So he's crafted something that I think is A, constitutional, and B, walks the line, but it's not going to address every single situation. And I think the trick for the situations that have been brought up is how you go about trying to enforce this ordinance. No one's ever going to, kid's 10-year-old birthday party, nobody's ever going to go send code enforcement out because they said happy birthday, but I'm not going to have a big purple gorilla on top of a building either. So that's the balance we're trying to strike. And it's an aesthetic thing that I think the administration is going for. These signs that we're kind of addressing have been a problem for, well, for as long as I've been representing the city, we've struggled with this. And this is kind of our attempt to kind of strike that balance.
Thank you, Mr. Westland. I appreciate that comment.
I
I
got
think of my own situation where I have we support our first responders in my front yard. I mean, here I have a sign displayed, and as soon as the city council passes this, am I running home to remove that sign? So I appreciate that.
And the one we get all the time, Dean, the question we get all the time is, years ago, you'll remember when the governor did something pretty controversial, people had yard signs that said Pence must go. And those yard signs were technically against ordinance, not only in the city of Hammond, but in other towns. And my advice to all of them was that it's pure political speech. Don't touch it. You don't want to get into this argument about a pure political issue. Same thing with your thank you to the first responders. Nobody in their right mind. Now, if the sign was a public safety issue, like you had it on your corner and you couldn't see around it, we'd probably knock on the door and say, hey, Mr. Button, you got to do something here. But a yard sign that says thanks to the first responders, I think most people are going to cheer that. They're not going to cite you for it.
Yeah. Thank you.
I have one more thing, actually.
Sure, Commissioner Kazmierzak.
So when it comes to the inflatables, does it specifically have to have some sort of advertisement attached to that inflatable to then become a so-called sign? Or is it strictly just have to be an inflatable, something to draw the attention? Because, I'm not trying to play devil's advocate, but I mean, when you come around holidays, I mean, there's some, I've seen yards with 15, 20-foot inflatables. So, I mean, where's the distinction drawn between that? Does it have to have like fireworks on a big banner across the inflatable's chest? Or is it going to be strictly because we know it's tied to that business that it's going to be considered a sign then for that business?
Thank you, Ms.
It's really the commercial aspect that we're going at. So like, in the summer, somebody's got a big bounce house that the bounce house company doesn't come get right away, right? Everyone realizes what's going on there. We're talking about, and so the answer to the specific question is, does it have to say, Mr. Smith's fireworks to be banned? No, the fact that it's an inflatable in front of a business, drawing the attention away from the road is the issue.
Thank you for that clarification. Any other questions on this subject from the perspective of receiving questions by the petitioner? Any other questions? Thank you. I guess at this point in time, I don't have my notes in front of me, but we would open it up for public hearing. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this particular matter? Anyone from the public wishing to speak? Anyone from the public? I see none. I would then turn it over to Mr. Poland for a response from staff.
Okay, as far as my staff report's concerned, I trust that everybody is comfortable with the explanations that our attorney has provided for us. I do want to echo the comment that it is a very controversial subject and hard to deal with signs, and words do not always are not the determining factor whether or not it's a sign. It can be a graphic, it can be another type, it's a logo. Those are the things that are still classified as signs under our sign definition, and that's where the inflatable falls into that category. It doesn't have to have a word on it. But anyway, staff recommendation is that, again, we hope we provided clear provisions to deal with this subject matter, and we recommend that the Planning Commission approve the text amendment to the zoning ordinance regarding the temporary signs and the prohibited signs, and forward the ordinance to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. And if the Planning Commission agrees with the recommendation, that the staff requests that this report be adopted as the findings of fact.
Thank you, Mr. Poland. Any questions or comments by the commissioners? Questions or comments by the commissioners? I do have one, if it's minor change, Brian, if you would consider. In your background, second paragraph, the end of the second line, if you would consider amending that to say the word day after then a second 30-day period is allowed.
Oh, yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
Just that one minor amendment, if you agree.
Yeah, that's fine. I will address that. Yeah.
I honestly should have talked to you about it earlier and didn't have a chance, but I appreciate your consideration. Any other questions or comments from Mr. Poland as staff? Being none, I think it's appropriate at this time to request a motion that recommends the Plan Commission approve the text amendment of the zoning ordinance regarding temporary signs and forward the ordinance to the City Council with a favorable recommendation. Is there such a motion?
Alex Tilo motions.
Thank you, Commissioner Deedlow. Is there a second?
second,
I believe that was Commissioner Herbert.
yes,
Thank you. So we have moved by Commissioner Deedlow, seconded by Commissioner Herbert on the recommendation to approve the language and forward it to City Council with a favorable recommendation. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? May I have a roll call vote? Mrs. Moore-Smith, please.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Alex D'Lo,
Yes.
Michael Dye,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
yes,
William Hutton,
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak,
Yes.
Dan Spitali,
Yes.
Sharon Zaney,
Sharon, you're muted.
we can't hear you.
Sorry about that. Yes.
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Thank you, Mrs. Morris-Smith. And then I would entertain a motion of this commission to agree with the recommendation that staff has prepared as amended, and that this report be adopted by the Plan Commission as a finding of fact. Is there such a motion?
So moved.
Commissioner Herbert has made a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilman Spitali. It's been moved and seconded by Commissioner Herbert and Councilman Spitali that we adopt this report as a finding of fact. Any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? Roll call, Mrs. Moore-Smith, please.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Alex D'Lo,
Yes.
Michael Dye,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
Yes,
William Hutton,
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak,
Yes.
Dan Spitali,
Yes.
Sharon Zaney,
Yes.
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Thank you for that unanimous vote. On to the next item of our new business, a CP 21-02, petition of the Hammond Redevelopment Commission for a resolution approving amending declaratory resolution 01-2021 of the City of Hammond Redevelopment Commission, approving an amendment to the amending declaratory resolution number 2-2008 to amend the declaratory resolution designating the downtown #1 urban renewal area as an allocation area and the urban renewal plan for the downtown #1 urban renewal area, also known as the amending declaratory resolution number 4. I would ask first, is this a petition that requires public notification?
Yes.
Thank you very much. Ms. Morris-Smith, would you have the notification requirements been met?
Yes, they have.
Thank you kindly. I would, is it all right with the commission that Mr. Poland act both as the petitioner and as the staff in this case? Any objection? Any objection? Any objection? Please, Mr. Poland, will you proceed with your petition presentation?
Yes, obviously, it's a very convoluted title to get us to the point of what we need to do tonight. It comes down to is the downtown urban renewal area was created originally in 1972, and then it was amended substantially in 1995. And then there was some changes in 2008 for the allocation area. The allocation area is what is referred to as, some people call it the TIF boundaries, but it's technically an allocation area where we can capture the tax increment financing. So we are technically amending the one that's in 2000, or excuse me, the redevelopment commission is technically amending the one in the 2008 version. And the purpose of this amendment is to carve out a segment of the current boundaries and call it its own allocation area. And so the new allocation area will be referred to as the Sibley allocation area. With this is primarily, it's driven by the redevelopment commission. It's tied into the financing for a project they're working on. And this is just a second step in the 4-step process in order to effectuate this change for the allocation area. Briefly about the project, if you are aware of the property at the northeast corner of Hammond Avenue and Sibley Street, it was the former site of the Penny's building, the former site of, there was the whatever the hotel was that we tore down.
Jefferson.
Yes, thank you. A couple of buildings to the north, one was the former Jupiter building, and one was a building that most recently housed a church. There was a fire in the Jupiter building. So there's definitely some issues going on with the property. But there's a developer that is looking at acquiring other property, assembling other property, vacating certain rights of way in order to construct a multi-use building in which we'd have a commercial on the first floor and residential on the upper floors. And again, the purpose of this amending declaratory resolution is to change the allocation area boundaries in order to support the financing on the project. The role of the commission is just to determine whether or not the action of the redevelopment commission is compliant with the comprehensive plan. That's the sole question that's asked of the plan commission. And what it goes back to, and while I don't think any of us were here in 1972, but the belief, my professional belief is that the plan commission determined in 1972 that the creation of the original urban renewal area was compliant with the plan. I can speak to the changes in 1995, that those were definitely, the plan commission determined that they were compliant with the plan. And then in 2008, we would have said that because of those previous determinations, the changes in the allocation area or the creation of the allocation area has no effect on the original determination that the plan itself was compliant with the comprehensive plan. So that is in essence what our recommendation is saying, that we are basing it on the previous determinations that it was determined to be compliant with the comprehensive plan, and that the change of a allocation boundary has no impact on that determination whatsoever. So the staff recommendation is the 5 points that I have listed, determining that the amending declaratory resolution 01-2021 is in conformity with the 1992 comprehensive plan. Adopt this report as findings of fact. Adopt the Plan Commission Resolution 2021-01. Determine that this report and its findings of fact and PC Resolution 2021-01 both constitute the Plan Commission's written order for compliance with the official plans of the City of Hammond in accordance with the statute. And then we're forwarding the Plan Commission's written order to the Common Council with the council resolution with a favorable recommendation.
Does that end your presentation, Mr. Poland?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any comments or questions from commissioners? Any comments or questions? Naturally, I have one. May I ask, have we ever done something like this before, Brian, to your knowledge? Have we ever attempted to amend the TIF area for the purpose of allocating a specific area? Or I'm just curious if that's something we've done.
We certainly have, yes, we have changed allocation area boundaries before. We have done this before. We've done this even when they temporarily get rid of an allocation area and recreate the same one because that resets the base. So it is, yes, we have done this on a regular basis. And Mr. Westland, is there something you want to add?
The answer is yes, Dean. But the real advantage, right, is that the redevelopment commission and the administration is negotiating with the developer for a particular project for this triangle, which is part of Exhibit A of this petition. And by pulling it out and making it a sub-allocation area in and to itself, what you're doing there is you're allowing the financial incentive to be based solely on this project and this developer, as opposed to the overall TIF area. So what you're doing is you're saying, if it's basically hedging your bets. If the developer doesn't come through with what they say they're going to do and the TIF falls short on this project, we're not going to grab money from the rest of the allocation area to subsidize this project, right? This project has to stand on its own. So it's really a benefit to the city to do it this way, because now kind of the pressure's on the developer to sink or swim with his own project.
That's a wonderful explanation. And I think about, all the work the city needs to do in downtown. And if this project were to impact revenue streams to support projects in downtown, that would make it difficult. So thank you for that clarification. Any other questions for Mr. Poland or Mr. Westland?
And if I can add, Dean, it's
Please.
Interesting because this is the first, as you know, this is the first step in an overall downtown plan, right? And so when you do, so the hope is that this is a massive success and that it spins off extra money that the city can then do other things with. But it does hedge our bets to some extent, and it allows those other projects. So like across the street, and I'm looking at the map. I know you can't see what I'm looking at, but I'm looking at the map across the street, for instance, where, if you want to do, there's a project proposed there as well, that one will stand on its own. So it's not like I've got to now look at the income stream of this and kind of cannibalize it off of to see what I can do. Now I can look at these projects independently.
Awesome. Thank you. Any other questions? So at this point in the meeting, I believe we open it up for a public hearing. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone from the public wishing to speak in opposition of this petition? Anyone from the public wishing to speak or comment on the petition? Being none, I close the public hearing. It seems like we heard Brian kind of give a staff report in consolidation with the petitions report. I would ask Mr. Poland, do you have anything to add to that, to your earlier comments, or could we move forward?
Actually, nothing further other than, there are those 5 points in the staff recommendation that need to be approved. And if you want to do them collectively, as long as you identify them, that's fine.
Thank you for that pointer. Appreciate that. So are there any other comments regarding staff's report? Any other comments? Any other comments? So that in itself, I would call for the motion to have the Plan Commission make a determination that the amending declaratory resolutions 01-2021, struggling here because it seems like I should add the Hammond Redevelopment Commission, is in conformity with the 1992 Comprehensive Plan, adopt this report as a finding of fact, and 3, adopt Plan Commission Resolution 2021-01, and 4, determine that this report as its finding of fact and Plan Commission Resolutions 2021-01 both constitute the Plan Commission's written order for compliance with the official plans of the City of Hammond in accordance with the Indiana Code 36-7-14-16A, and the Plan Commission would forward its written order to the Common Council of Hammond with a favorable recommendation. Is there such a motion?
Michael Dye, motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Dye. Is there a second?
Bill
Second.
Hutton, second.
I do believe Councilman Spitali beat you to the second, Mr. Hutton.
That's
but I
okay.
appreciate it. Thank
That's
you.
okay.
It's been moved by Commissioner Dye, seconded by Councilman Spitali to approve the motion on the table. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Any discussion? I would ask Mrs. Morris Smith for a roll call, please.
Roger Brock,
Yes.
Dean Button,
Yes.
Alex D'Lo,
Yes.
Michael Dye,
Yes.
Ann Herbert,
Yes.
William Hutton,
Yes.
Thomas Kazmierzak,
Yes.
Dan Spitali,
Yes.
Sharon Zaney,
yes,
9 ayes, 0 nays, 0 abstentions, motion passed.
Thank you for your unanimous support. We move on to the next item on the agenda, item 7, correspondence.
No correspondence.
Thank you, Mr. Poland. Item number 8, commissioner comments. Any commissioner wishing to speak? Any commissioner? Any commissioner? Thank you. Item number 9, staff comments. Mr. Poland.
At this point, we are not anticipating a February Plan Commission meeting. I never know if something's going to pop up and be surprising, but I don't foresee anything at this point. And then it's something I probably should have confirmed with Mr. Button beforehand, but do we have to address any changes in our schedule?
Thank you for that comment. If the commissioners will allow, I would just say that no adjustment to the Plan Commission schedule is now necessary. For the commissioners' understanding, as you may know, the City of Hammond has recently formed a capital improvements board, and that board had set a meeting date for the third Monday of each month. First and third Monday, I should say, first and third Monday of each month, opposite the existing Common Council regular schedule. Those meetings were scheduled to be held, a work study session at 5 p.m. and a regular meeting at 6 p.m., which would directly conflict with this long-standing Plan Commission schedule. So the Capital Improvements Board at their meeting on January 4th made a decision to move their regular meeting to, their regular meeting to 5 p.m. with the work study session at 4 p.m. And so they would precede this meeting on the third Monday of every month. I am hopeful that the Capital Improvements Board schedule will not adversely impact the Plan Commission's start time. And your Plan Commission president is also the president of the Capital Improvements Board, and he will do everything he can to make sure that that doesn't extend over, but we do allow public comment and we will do the best we can. Is that sufficient, Mr. Poland?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other staff comments?
Nothing further.
Mrs. Morris-Smith, anything from you?
No, sir.
Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Anyone from the public wishing to address the commission? Anyone from the public? Anyone from the public? I would ask Mr. Poland, everyone should realize that we do have on our schedule a Plan Commission meeting, if it were to take effect, would be the February 16th at 6 p.m. So if there is one called, it's Tuesday, scheduled for Tuesday, February 16th at the present. And if we do get items to come before this commission, we would expect to meet at that time, 6 p.m. With that in mind, I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Ann Herbert.
Thank you, Commissioner Herbert. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Hutton, thank you for your second. Commissioner Hutton seconds. All in favor? Well, no, I'm sorry. I guess I'm going to ask for a roll call vote.
That one you can do all in favor because it's just ending the meeting. You technically don't even need to do it, but go ahead.
Thank you. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries. Thank you for a wonderful meeting, you all. We'll see you very soon.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Be safe.
Yeah.
Wear your mask.
Oh, yeah. Great meeting, guys.